good day, guys. Welcome to today's live stream. And today we are going to be discussing something that some people have kind of like wondered. So we are going to be touching how fast student pilots fly. So that's what I'm going to be discussing with you today. So if you're new here, I'll say welcome. And in this channel, actually, this Princess Anu-TV, we talk about aviation, motivation, and adventure. And if you've not yet subscribed, please do like click on the subscribe button and click on that bell so that whenever I post anything, videos, community talks, come live. Hi, I can see someone is here already. Thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. I really appreciate it. So that whenever I post anything, you'll be able to see it. Like, it's very, very important. I give you basically information about flight school, my own experience, some things you should know, some things you should take note of, and I actually planned a different topic for today, but I just thought we should talk about this, then we talk about the other tomorrow or something. So for now, every single day, like, I do live streams from like 5 to 6, between the time of 5 to 6 you should see me online. So in case you're wondering, you can just join me from that time. Welcome. I'd like to know your name. For everyone that's joining, please let me know your name, and if you have any questions, I'd like to know too. So like I said, guys, I actually have a kind of, I want to be precise and go like straight to the point as much as, Nathan is nice having you here. Thank you so much for joining me in today's live stream. I really appreciate your presence at all times. So the number one thing, or the first things I would like you to know about how far, now we're talking about in terms of like altitude and distance, like how far do student pilots fly, especially I don't want to use any flight school, like code it to a flight school, but we're going to kind of like generalize it and now bring it down to something you can like relate very well with. So I want you to know there are 3 factors that determine actually how high or the distance that a student pilot can actually fly, or like how far he or she can go, because we don't just have like guys, you know, we have ladies, and I'm like one of them. So I'm just going to be like putting it. The first thing that you should know is that your school will determine how far you can fly, like for the altitude and distances. Maybe for every time you go, depending on the elevation, you know, depending on the elevation. So they'll be like, okay, like for altitude now, we know that altitude is in like reference to mean sea level. We are not talking about like height. So maybe they can be doing like 5,000 feet, 4,000 feet. Like mainly in NCAT, we fly as student pilots. I fly on a regular exercise. We fly 5,000, 4,000, 5,000, 4,000. We rarely go to 6,000, like for regular exercise. Now, that's another thing I want you to know. Number one, your school determines the type of how far you can fly in altitude and distance. And number two, the kind of exercise that you're doing will actually determine how far you fly. Then the third one I have here concerning things that determine how far you fly is the category of your license. So we are going to be looking at these 3 factors basically. Like, and okay, there's also another one, location. The location you're flying in will determine how far, like how far in terms of distance and how far in terms of like altitude. So we're going to be looking at those 4 factors: location, your school, the kind of exercise you're doing, and what's the last one? Category of your license. So those 4 things we're going to be looking at it. And I would like to start with your school. Like for instance, if I'm going to be using NCAT as an example, we have control boundaries around NCAT. Like there's kind of like a chart, it's kind of like a plain sheet. I didn't really draw it here, but it's kind of like there's a plain sheet that shows you different sectors that you can fly in. So those sectors, I think those sectors are not really more than like 10 to 15 nautical miles away from the station. So you cannot go away from the sector boundaries. In fact, the moment you bust any of those sector boundaries, you're going to be penalized, because it's seen that you can like fly into someone else. You know, as student pilots, we need to learn how to like restrict ourselves, because different other airliners are flying, different other student pilots are flying, helicopters are flying, fighter jets are flying, like different people are flying. So when you go up there as a student pilot, you're not just the only one like flying. Hi, I can see more persons are joining. Thank you so much. I would like to know your name. Very, very important. For every time I come here, I want to know your name so that I know the maybe new persons that are joining, and if they are still like old people joining me, like fans, you know, the kind of stuff. Like, I love you guys. I get so much about you guys, sharp. That's why I'm asking. Okay, back to the topic. So these sector boundaries are the kind of, you know it. In fact, your first exercise you're going to be doing in your flight school, they're going to be showing you like the sector boundaries, where you can fly to or where you cannot fly to. So the school determines how far you can fly, like the environment, based on how they have it in their chart in reference to the aid. Most especially, most of the time is usually in reference to the runway or in reference to the particular aid in that school. So if you are thinking, okay, as a student pilot, how am I going to fly? Number one thing, like I said, you should note is that your school will determine how far in terms of altitude and distance that you fly. That's one. The second thing I would like you to also know is, we've talked about 4 things. Don't forget, we talked about school, we talked about category of your license, we talked about the type of exercise and the location. Now let me just go to this 4th one, the location, before we touch the other 2. Your location, for instance, let me use a perfect example. When we went for, I went for my night rating, not in Kaduna now because our flight school is in Kaduna, but we went for our night rating in Kano. Kano, actually they operate like 24 hours, and because they operate 24 hours, you know, jets are coming in every now and then, and so they will have their own type of chart that you're going to use to fly. Now, their chart or their whatever it is, like their chart or their training chart, tells you can only go here and not go here. You can only move here and not move here. Like, they have in specifics, like where you can fly to and where you can't fly to. So the location that you're flying in now, not your flying school to be precise, not your flying school, the location you're flying in, if you go to someone else's airspace, not around your like flying school airspace to fly, the guys there are going to determine how far you fly in terms of distance and how far you fly in terms of altitude. So don't just think you come into someone else's airspace and you just want to make your own rules, because definitely you know that for everything you have to discuss with like the control tower. Hi, Yummy Away. Oh, it's been a while. You've been here. It's been a while. Actually, the live stream time has changed, and I kind of said that before. Like from it changed from 10 to 5 to 6 because of a lot of work to do. You know, a lot of changes in the house. So we had to like change the live stream time. So anytime you want to see me live, I'm going to be live from 5 to 6, like within that time, so that we can like discuss and talk about everything that we need to like talk about. Yeah, from 11 to 10, then 10 to 5. Yeah, you know, we have to be flexible at all times. Like, you know, that's how life is, you know, change. So you need to be like flexible, knowing what to do, what works for you and what works for like the others. So thank you so much for always being here, whether it's 10, whether it's 11, whether it's 1, 2, whatever. Thanks for being here. Like, I really appreciate you guys' presence. So now I've talked about the second thing. Don't forget, the first thing that I talked about was your school determining how far in terms of altitude or location, in terms of altitude or distance. Now the second thing I just finished talking about now is in terms of the location, like where you fly, that place is going to actually determine, or the person that owns the airspace, which in quotes is like the controller. Is COVID-19 affecting aviation school? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Timothy, welcome. It's been a while. Thanks for being here. Yes, COVID-19 is affecting school, and that's why they said we should go home for now, so that when the whole thing is down, nobody gets sick, nobody's transmitting one thing from the other person to the other. So we know that by God's grace this whole thing will be over, but we know we need to keep learning. That's why I keep making these videos, guys, because if you're informed, it doesn't really matter when things change. You just catch up with time, you just catch up with the tide. But if you're idle, not doing anything, or not learning, not reading, not watching YouTube videos, Princess Anu-TV, you might get kind of like rusty and maybe like lose vibe or something. So that's why I like have to like keep making these videos. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. So let's go to the third thing, the category of license that you have. If peradventure you just went solo, obviously, you know, even in going solo, you just do like circuit and landing. You don't do like any other exercise. You just take off, you do upwind, crosswind, downwind, base leg, you come and land. So final correction, then you come and land. So you just, for as a solo student, you don't really go far, you don't really do much basically. So that category, you don't have a license, you just have an SPL, that's a student pilot license. That will make you not like go far, obviously, because if you're without an instructor, you can't like go far. And now, if depending on the category of license which you have, which we are talking about now, if you're about to fly and you still have like an SPL, you just have to like always stay within the sectors of the school. Like, I think not more than like 15 to 10, depending on the range that your school gives. If not, in fact, in my school, most of the time they always say remain inside of the runway. If you're on a solo flight and you are like maybe going to do an exercise and come back and you don't really like have your license yet and all that, you always have to remain inside of the runway, because you can lose orientation, you can get like, you can just, oh God, you don't know where you are again. Oh, where's the runway? Before you know, you're flying away and everybody's looking for you, and they're like, yeah, people get missing, it happens. And you don't want to fall into that. So they always say try as much as possible to remain in sight of the runway. So now let's move to another very important factor that actually determines how far you fly. And this one is more interesting, that's why I left it for the last, because you will get to like enjoy it. You get to like feel almost like a commercial pilot. Can only one pilot, first officer, fly a plane? Yes. And that's a student aircraft, right? Like a training aircraft. There are aircrafts that are single man aircrafts, and there are aircrafts that are you need more than one crew. So most of the aircrafts you have in flight training are actually single man aircrafts. That means only one person can actually fly them. But most of the time, the other aircraft, especially those with retractable landing gears, the school always tries as much as possible not to leave one person. In case the person forgets to put down the landing gears, obviously you know that that aircraft is gone and gone forever. Yeah, kind of gone and gone, because the engine will get damaged. And what's an aircraft without an engine? It's like a glider. So so we are not kind of looking for a glider, we're looking for like a very working aircraft. So yes, there are aircrafts that have that only one person can actually fly, and like the Cessna, the TB9, they are actually one-man crew aircrafts. But most of the time when you're going for cross country, okay, like I said, that's why I'm going now into the fourth point, the kind of exercise that you're doing. And if you're going for cross country, you're the P1. If you're the one like building your hours, you're the P1. Then you have your colleague flying with you as the P2. So you guys are going to be like two flying the aircraft, this person is the pilot in command, this person is like the co-pilot, and both of you have the right to like log the hours, because one person is going to log like P1 hours and the other person is going to log P2 hour, which is very, very good. And in that case, you can like fly very far. And this is because you have gotten your PPL in your bag and you are building your hours for your CPL requirements. So it also boils down to the fact of the category of license that you have, because if you don't have a PPL yet, you don't expect to take an aircraft and just be firing, just be going. It doesn't happen that way, guys. So when you're doing your hour building, then you have the opportunity to like fly the aircraft to very far places. For instance, I've gone from Zaria to like Jos, I've gone Zaria to Kaduna, I've gone Zaria to Katsina, I've done Zaria to Zaria Airport to Kaduna Airport. I've done that. I've done Zaria to where's this other place? Is it Bauchi? I think I've done, yeah, Zaria to Bauchi. I've done Zaria to Mina, and these are cross-country flights. So, and I think the reason why they even restrict it to those places, like northern places around, is because of the fuel. And you know, when you know your endurance and you know where you can like refuel, like the kind of fuel that you use in your aircraft to actually determine how far you can go. Do you choose where you go for a cross? Yes, you can choose where you go, but obviously you cannot go to a place that you can like you go and not be able to come back with the fuel you have. That's what I'm trying to explain. Like if I'm going from, like, I can't go from Zaria to Lagos, because with that aircraft I'm flying, maybe I need like approximately like 3 hours with like a TB9, because it's not fast. It's like the cruising speed is about 90 knots, so it's basically not too fast. So you need almost like 3 hours to get there, and the endurance of TB9 is barely 5 hours. So if I'm going to use 3 hours to get to Lagos, what endurance do I have to like come back to Zaria? So these are, I don't think it's even 3 hours. I think you need like 4 to 5 hours with TB9 to like get to Lagos. So these are some factors you have to consider, and these are things you will do in flight planning. Yeah, guys, these are things you do in flight planning, but it's something you're going to enjoy. So that's the best. That's going to be one of the most interesting periods of your flight training, because you like have the opportunity to go to far places. Are there places to rent aircrafts in Nigeria to build ours like in the US? Do you know? Yes, there are places. I think NCAT rents aircraft, like not rent, like they will not just like give you their aircrafts to like go with, but you can use their aircraft for our building. And I'm not trying to like sell them. I'm not trying to like market for them or something. I'm just telling you like what I know based on information I've gotten from people that wanted to like do our building, because they are like, oh, I want to do our building, and they find out from NCAT, and they are like, okay, we can give you the aircraft to go do our building. You do, but you have to pack the aircraft with them. They service the aircraft for you. They do everything for you. They're not just like give you their aircraft and you go to some place before you come back. But I think there are also some places. I don't want to give you unverified information. I'm going to try to find out, but I think there are also some schools in Kaduna that you can also build as. Can a student pilot have a personal plane? Yes! Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. A student pilot having a personal aircraft. It's a very, very good one, and if you have the money, I'm definitely going to advise you to get an aircraft if you have the money and if you want to fly for a very long time, because obviously getting an aircraft will help you like build your hours. It's going to help you like move yourself from one place to the other stress-free. Like, but some things you have to consider for getting an aircraft of your own is maintenance costs, parking fees, other fees that you have to pay NCAT. I think getting an aircraft is not the problem for some people, but maintaining the aircraft is one of the major issues that a lot of persons have. And it's not easy, it's not that easy to maintain an aircraft. And let me say this, that's if you're just buying it for your personal use. You know that you can also partner with people to like buy an aircraft. I don't know if you know that. You can partner with people, maybe like 2, 3 or 4 people come together to and decide to like buy an aircraft. It's a good thing, and they know that these 3 or 4 persons can contribute to the maintenance of the aircraft, because 3 of them or 4 of them are flying the aircraft. So the stress is not really going to be on one person, because if the stress is on one person, it's not really going to be too good. It's not really going to be too good, and the pressure is going to be much, because there's something. Okay, let me tell you something extra about this aircraft. Okay, I'll just quickly say this and I'll read these comments that we have here. Yeah, okay. The thing is that spare parts of aircrafts have shelf life. I don't know, you can just type what shelf life is. Okay, but let me just quickly explain. Shelf life, say it's like a maximum or minimum time that thing can stay, whether it's used or not. You can't use it again. Just like we have perishable goods, unperishable goods and all that. For an aircraft, whether it's flying or not, you need to like maintain it. You need to check what's working, what's not working. There are some bolts that if they stay for a while, you need to remove them. It doesn't matter if the aircraft has been flying or not. That's just the shelf life of that bolt in that aircraft. Or the landing gears or the tires, these things need to be checked, they need to be changed. So you don't just buy it and keep it. You need to be flying it like constantly for you to be able to get the returns from it. You don't just buy an aircraft and like keep. No, you don't do that. You have to like keep flying it, keep renting it out, keep giving it to people. Maybe give it to a flying school if possible, so that they can fly it for you, maintain it for you, and you get your money from it. So I'm just giving you some ideas anyways that you can do it. So let me read this. Yeah, exactly, Nathan. Sorry, exactly, Yomi. You need, the maintenance is not usually very like friendly. Okay, okay, I've answered this other one. Okay, how is this hour thing calculated? People could cheat and add up hours. I want to have a clear view of how the hour thing is being recorded without being compromised. Okay, I'm going to talk about it based on the flight school area. Yes, people can compromise. Some people can maybe fly like 5 hours and maybe put 5 hours 30 minutes or 5 hours 40 minutes or whatever. People know, but this is it. When you fly, you record your airborne time, like the time you lifted off the ground. The controller is going to like give you your airborne time, so you record your airborne time. And when you land, the controller gives you your landing time, your touchdown time. So you have these two informations put together. Then the only place you can like maybe in quotes like add up some extra hours is only during taxi, because nobody knows how many minutes or how many hours you used to taxi. But there are some figures you're going to add that will look very suspicious. There's this chokes on and chokes off. When you like remove the chokes off the aircraft and you try to like, before you call for startup, those you start counting like your time. Though I heard it's only in Nigeria that time counts, but the moment you start taxiing, you know that they say a flight is when the aircraft starts to move on its own power. That's the definition of flight. Like the aircraft starts to move on its own power till it is parked. Like till that aircraft is parked, that aircraft is still in flight. So basically, the moment you start the engine of the aircraft and you start to taxi, that's the only time people see to like add up hours. And a lot of persons do, yeah, people do, but there are some hours you cannot say you be taxing for 40 minutes. It's very suspicious. It doesn't happen. You can't say you are taxing for, I think the fair share, depending on how far where you parked your aircraft is to the runway, the first share you can say you taxied for is about, let me say, 10 to 15 minutes basically, because you know taxiing, you have to take your time during taxi. You have to, in fact they call it, you taxi at walking pace, like very slow, because the aircraft has power that you can lose control at any time if you're not careful. So when you're taxiing, you need to taxi like quite slowly, and that and all that. So that's basically where people add up the time. So when you take off, the controller gives you a time. When you land, he gives you a time. So that's basically your airborne time. But your total time includes like your taxi time. So that's actually how the time is recorded. And so the P1 records his hours, the P2 records his or her hours, and everybody's good. So that's basically how the time is being recorded. So hope you got me, Nathan. I would just like to know if you got my answer to that question. And okay, there's also something well, giving to flight school is a nice idea. I try to say like going to, okay, giving it to a flight school, yes. Actually giving to, oh, thank you very much, Nathan. I'm happy that I answered that question correctly, just as you wanted. Yeah, giving it to a flight school is always, is going to be your best bet, because the flight school is always, they have students. Whether you're flying or not, whether you have the money to maintain or not, these guys are going to do the work for you. The only thing that you're going to like get some stipends, so to say, from like the rentage or what you give them for. So maybe they can lease the aircraft from you for maybe like 1 year or maybe 6 months, or maybe you can have like a contract with them saying, I'm going to give you my aircraft for this period, and okay, whenever I need it, I'm going to like tell you and all that. So that's how it happens basically. But it's a good idea too. But if you ask me, I would really like to have an aircraft, and yes, by God's grace, I'm going to have an aircraft. Yes. So I think it's really a good idea to have an aircraft. So guys, I hope I was able to explain very well to you how student pilots fly using those 4 factors. Your school determines how far you fly. The location you're flying in will determine how far you fly in terms of altitude and distance. And also the kind of exercise you're doing will determine how far you fly. What else did I miss out in this 3 things that these 4 things, okay, I just said. So I hope you've gained a lot from this video. If you have any questions, you can send me an email, you can send me an Instagram message through the links in the description of this video. Like, it's very important. And don't forget, I always say keep asking questions, because when you ask questions, you don't lose your way. But if you don't ask questions, you might, I don't like to say bad things, so you will just be fine. But always ask questions. So guys, till we meet next time on this same channel, like here. I'll be here from 5 to 6 every single day during the period of this corona virus issue, till the whole stuff is out there. We are back to school. Then maybe we can change the timing for the live stream. So I hope I've not missed anything. Okay, my last advice: be safe, guys. Always be safe. If you've not subscribed, I can see more persons are here. If you're new here and you've not subscribed, make sure you like, subscribe, and click on that bell so that whenever I post any video, you'll be able to see it. I really appreciate your presence, and thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you so much, Edo Timothy. Thank you so much, Yomi Away. I have to give a shout out to everyone that joined me, because you guys were so awesome asking your questions. Thank you so much for joining me in today's live stream. Till we meet next time on the same channel, keep watching. Bye, guys. Bye. Okay.